All right, so one of the last things you usually do with your project before you finish them with stain or paint or whatever is sand down your project so they look nice and pretty. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple different ways that you can sand. There's hand sanding, which we really encourage with those fine-tuned things. But for bigger projects, we have the belt and disc grinder sander, we have the spindle sander, and we also have a hand orbital sander, which you can usually get as a power from cord or power from battery. So let's go through the parts of the disc and belt sander first. This is the disc sander or grinder. It has an arrow on it, so it shows you that it goes in a counterclockwise motion. Okay, you do your sanding from this end, because if you do it over here, as you notice, whoop, it'll go flying up. Here, it keeps it flat on the table. You can use the guide to kind of keep your stuff in place as well. Over here is a belt sander or belt grinder. Shows you on the arrow that it's going to spin this way. So it's actually spinning in a clockwise motion. And you bring your piece, your stock, across here on the table. You can use the guide if you need to as well. It goes over here to keep your stuff nice and even. You can use that as well. I'm going to show you how that works in a little bit. This is the spindle sander. There's different size spindles you can put on here, but this is a nice gritty piece of sandpaper. And it goes up and down and it rotates in a counterclockwise motion. You can use this to try to do some rounded edges or try to keep things smooth in a slow fashion. We'll show you how that works in a little bit. And then the orbital sander, you never use this until you plug it in. And you never keep your tools plugged in when you're not using them. So the way this works is you would plug it in, you turn on the power button, and it will spin, which we'll show you in a little bit. You can adjust the speed. The biggest thing is, this is not what a sand looks like. You have to get sanding discs, hook and loop discs, that go on here. Never use it if it doesn't have a disc on it. Okay? All right, so we have a piece of stock here. We'll show you how it works. I'm going to turn these on so they are going to get loud. Just like we learned with the drill press and the other saws, you have to make sure that it's at optimal speed before you start using it. So we're going to turn it on. Before we turn it on, I'm going to take care of all jewelry. I have my safety glasses on. I'm bald, so I don't have to worry about hair. I do have my closed-toed shoes and short sleeve Al Borland shirt, so I'm ready to go. Okay, let's turn it on. You can see it's got some, it's pretty loud. We're going to take this edge to the belt grinder. So I'm going to sand to the side of it, and again, I'm going to let the belt come straight down. And as I go back and forth, it smooths it out. Again, you don't go past center, because then it's going to rotate back on you. Again, I'm keeping a nice firm grip towards it and down on the table. Okay. Now, the same machine runs. We can use the belt grinder. So I'm going to use another end. I'm going to use this side for the belt grinder. Just keep it firmly against the belt. Kind of move back and forth to give it even pressure. Pull it back and check it periodically. Ooh, that's smooth. Keep it going. Ooh, that's real smooth. All right. So I'm going to turn it off, clean the dust off me. Okay, the belt and the disc are done moving, so now I can move away from the area. I'm going to show you how to use the spindle to turn it on. Let it get up to speed, and as you can see it extruding, going up and down pretty consistently. Now let's say I want to take one of these edges and try to smooth it out, round it out. I'm going to use this here for that. So I know that it's rotating this way, so I'm going to hold it and kind of guide it in that same direction. Moving up and down my wood, try to get an even pattern. Aware of where my fingers are at all times. I don't know if the camera can get that, but it's starting to smooth it. So now again, I'm going to go and make sure I'm going with the same pattern. You can even go in the opposite direction, but make sure you've got a good grip on your stock. And make the corner smooth. And that gives it a nice smooth edge as well, so it's not as rough. Again, don't leave your area until it's completely done moving. You know that it's safe. And finally, the one that's probably the most common that you're going to use, the Orbital sander. So we have these discs. We have different grits depending on what you're going to do. This is a 60 grit. This is a heavy grit. This is really going to take off a lot of wood. So you put the hook and loop on there. Make sure it's pressed in firmly. Okay. Now that I'm ready, I'm going to plug it in. I have my piece. If you're at a table that has a clamp, I would clamp it down. We're just going to rub over it with this sander. So I'm going to turn it on. You're going to see that it spins. I can adjust the speed. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. And what you're going to do is you're going to apply direct pressure to the wood and go back and forth. I'm not doing any more. I'm letting the machine do all the work. Just go back and forth. That's smooth. So now I'm going to turn the sander off. Wait till it's done making any motion. I'm going to lay it down on its side, unplug it before I'm done. Obviously, the last thing we want to do now that we got our smooth piece here is take a dustpan and a broom, wipe up everything that we have here, make sure our area is cleaner than we found it. And that's all the different sanding opportunities and options you have here in the shop.